Alright folks, welcome to Volume 2 of the greatest indie games ever released. Yes, if you missed Volume 1, be sure to head down to the description box below where you can catch up on that. We've got 10 more indie classics that absolutely belong in each and every one of your indie gaming collections, well, assuming you like that genre anyways. My name's Old Gamer Joe, and if it's your first time here at I Dream of Indie Games, be sure to like and subscribe if you love independent content and bringing a voice to independent developers and publishers. Head on over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames if you'd like to support us further. You'll gain access to our amazing Discord community, early ad-free shows, exclusive podcasts, shoutouts at the end of every single video we produce, and so much more, including some free games if you're lucky. Your community is waiting. Lastly, be sure to support twitch.tv/idreamofindiegames, where OK Nia is streaming each and every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Awesome first looks at some of the most exciting indie games that have just hit the mark. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's get right into this list. I have no script whatsoever, going completely off the cuff here. This ought to be fun. Our first game is going to be Vampire Survivors, a true indie classic that has really inspired so many indie developers and publishers out there to make similar games. Such a simple concept, yet so effective. How did nobody think of this sooner? In Vampire Survivors, you'll select a monster-slaying character that will automatically attack foes as they come at you in wave after wave. There's really no buttons to worry about whatsoever. You simply wander about this map, try to survive for as long as possible, grab meat in order to survive longer, and gain more and more power-ups as the run progresses. So simple and yet so freaking addictive. You'll unlock more and more content as you play, which just keeps you playing for hours on end. It could be new characters that you unlock, new weapons that you unlock, and even better, the developer continues to release affordable DLC that adds even more maps, more weapons, more characters, more, and it's all super cheap and affordable. Hell, even better, they've gone as far as adding co-op to this game, so now you can play it with friends. It just doesn't get any more addicting than Vampire Survivors, folks, and it has inspired so many great indies, and I believe it will continue to do so. A must-have in your collection. In fact, I gotta tell Silent Signs right now to go put down the Steam Deck and get to work already, so I don't have to do this list all by myself. I'm gonna leave her alone. She's awesome, and she's earned her time to play some Vampire Survivors. Gosh, when she gets into it, she really gets into it. Great game. How about we go from Vampire Survivors to another classic? It is Dead Cells. Pretty much every indie gaming fan out there has at least heard of Dead Cells at one point or another. This gorgeous 2D action platformer is a wonderful blend of sweet combat mixed with a little bit of Metroidvania and those rogue elements that we all have come to love over the years. Dead Cells has well over 150 weapons, tons of spells for players to unlock, a progression system where you can kind of go about it however you wish, tons of secrets await as well. It is a huge game that has been made only that much larger with all of the DLC packs that have released throughout the years, including the most recent one, which is based on Castlevania. Now, how cool is that? And honestly, for as good as the base game is, it's definitely worth grabbing all of that DLC. There is a bundle available on Steam. I believe it's available at all times, where you can get every single DLC pack in one package. It's listed at $40 right now, but it might go on sale even lower, so keep an eye on that. If you don't have anything with Dead Cells so far, that might be the route to go here with this really classic, great action game. But it has to be in your collection, come on, especially if you love this genre. Here's a developer that is probably going to appear on this list more than once. Well, not this specific list, but one of the many volumes that we'll be doing. Either way, the first game we're going to talk about from Supergiant Games, released all the way back in 2011, August 16th to be precise, and it is considered a classic by many, myself included. It is Bastion. Bastion takes place in a rather bleak world, and you will play as the Kid, as he has come to be known. This game has a lot of standout features. I couldn't possibly list them all here, but the visuals are outstanding with very gorgeous colors and just a very immersive experience all around, with a fantastic narrator who is interesting because he actually describes every single move that you make throughout the game, or at least it feels that way. There's lots of different playstyles to this game as well, so you don't have to experience it one certain way. The combat is quite fluid. It's very much a fan favorite there as well. People really like this combat engine, and if you like action RPGs, RPGs. There's just so much to like here, and you gotta have it in your collection, just like the other games I've talked about so far. Over 10 upgradable weapons, a new game plus mode once you've completed it, 6 huge structures to go through, and some pretty good accessibility options as well, with, of course, I gotta mention this, one of the great indie gaming soundtracks ever. Bastion is a no-brainer, so get to it. Add it to your wish list or throw it in your collection if you haven't yet, for some reason. We go from Bastion to the heartbreaking game Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. This one's interesting because a remaster was just recently announced, and I'm quite excited about that because Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is just this gorgeous, compelling story that was a little bit limited at the time by the hardware that was available. It has these really wonderful set pieces, but the true innovation of this title comes from its control scheme, where you control each brother independently using the different analog sticks. It's a little bit of a mind freak at first, but you do get used to it as you solve different puzzles together. But gosh, is this game just so freaking emotional. This is one of those rare indies where I actually did cry. If you can handle some very heavy themes, you will find a great puzzle game here with a unique control scheme that works surprisingly well. I believe the Switch version went to add co-op, and the remaster is also going to feature co-op, though when I originally played it, that was not an option. I like this game a lot single player myself. I'm not sure how I feel about co-op. I guess I'll have to give that a go when the remaster comes out. So it's hard to say for sure. Should you go and play the original, or should you just wait for the remaster at this point? Well, it really depends on the quality of the remaster. Based on the trailer, it certainly looks awesome. I would take a wait and see approach there, but either way, you gotta play this game at some point. All right, from one excellent action RPG right to another, Death's Door is the next game I want to shout out on this list, which is just phenomenal, as every game we talk about on this list will be. It comes from developer Acid Nerve and one of the great indie publishers out there, Devolver Digital. I played it back when it released in 2021, and it has remained one of my favorites in my library ever since. Also, shameless plug, we do have a full review for this and many of the games right here at the I Dream of Indie Games channel. Death's Door is a little bit bizarre narratively, but I absolutely love what it's going for. You play as a crow who is trying to reap souls. You travel through different worlds on your quest to collect all of these different souls, but things get a little bit crazy the more you play this game. Combat in Death's Door is the real star of the show. Some excellent smooth combat here as you roll out of the way of enemy attacks and strike them at the right moment, but there's also some great puzzle design in this game as well, and it's fairly open to explore at your own free will, so you aren't necessarily on a strict linear path. Trust me, I went off the path a few times in my gameplay of this one. Great combat, stunning visual design, and an outstanding soundtrack all work together to make Death's Door yet another must-play. Alright, you knew this next one was coming, didn't you? At some point or another, it's the classic from Edmund Macmillan, The Binding of Isaac, released all the way back in 2011, which was really an important year for indie games looking back at it, wasn't it? This game really brought to life an addicting gameplay loop that is still used to this day as you go through randomly generated dungeons, simply blasting away at foes, and it had some light RPG elements where you collect new items and get more and more powerful, well, hopefully. It's funny because I'm not usually a fan of random generation, but it just works so well here to feed into the addiction, kind of like Vampire Survivors, which we touched on a bit earlier. Binding of Isaac definitely has a similar level of addictiveness. Now, I have heard over the years that the gross visuals aren't necessarily for everyone, but I personally love the visual style of this game. It is rather disgusting though, so fair warning there. Again, this is a game that has had many updates over the years, so there is a bundle available on Steam and I'm sure other places as well if you want to get everything all at once, but The Binding of Isaac is just so classic. So classic. This next game kind of took the indie world by storm. It was early on into content creation for me when this dropped September 23rd of 2020. Obviously tough times for a lot of us out there, but it was a game that brought a lot of us together as well through conversations on the internet. Gosh, who didn't like Untitled Goose game? A game where you get to play as this absolutely miserable, rotten goose that just goes around screwing with everyone. You do have objectives in this game to perform, but really half of the fun is just wandering about, pecking at people, grabbing stuff you're not supposed to. It's so damn stupid, but awesome. In fact, just looking at the video for this game again, I have a sudden itch to go and play it, especially knowing that they did go on to add a 2-player cooperative mode, so I'm gonna have to recruit Silent Signs and see what that's all about, and that was a free update as well. But the honk button is still ever present, which is perhaps the most important thing of all. I love Untitled Goose Game. I think everyone should at least give it a go once. Okay, if you watched Volume 1, then you know there was one game I alluded to that would have a sequel of sorts later on a different list. Well, that time is now. The first game we talked about was Limbo on Volume 1, and we're here today to talk about the great sequel that was released in 2016 called Inside. If you thought Limbo was dark and disturbing, well, Inside just kinda ups everything to the next degree. You play as a young, mysterious boy as you go through yet another 2.5D side-scroller, solving various puzzles and dying a lot on the way, or perhaps being caught by randoms out there in this very, very strange world. Again, you have that kind of washed out, muted color design here. The environments are breathtaking, but just like Limbo, it's really that puzzle design that is going to be the star of this one. Inside is not a long game, but by gosh, is it a memorable one. And you know, if you thought Limbo left you with a lot of questions, well, Inside will do exactly the same thing, where you'll be scouring the internet for answers, wondering just what exactly transpired. And once again, just as it was in that previous game, it's just as effective here, and it's one of the best aspects of Inside. What you don't know is what makes it so exciting. Alright, I just love Mullins. I think he's a fantastic game designer. He's made some good ones, from Pony Island. We just had a Pony Island sequel announced, but perhaps his best work is Inscryption, which is kind of crazy for me to say out loud because I really don't like card-based games usually, but if you've played Inscryption, you know it's anything but just another card game. I remember poor Silent Signs trying to review this game, and it was one of the most difficult reviews she ever had to do because it's such an easy game to spoil. In fact, I don't even want to touch on everything that's featured in the game here in this rundown because, well, it's really the joy of discovery that makes it so special and so eerie and creepy too. Ugh. You think you're playing this like Magic the Gathering style thing, but then there's this horror game wrapped up into it, and it all just works so damn well. Also, the art design coupled with the very haunting soundtrack and sound effects are just perfect for creating this dreadful atmosphere. Gosh, this game sucks you into its world, and you might want to leave, but you won't be able to because it's just so addicting. You gotta see what happens next. You gotta have one more game of cards. You gotta play Inscryption. Some awesome games on this list, right? Am I right? Let's pat ourselves on the back, huh? Alright, well, Volume 2 has been very successful, just as Volume 1 was. Can't wait to see what's in Volume 3, but for now, we've got to close this one out, and what better game to do it with than the intensely difficult platformer with a lot of heart? We are, of course, talking about Celeste, a very difficult game, one of the harder games that I've played, and a game that I screamed at a lot, but was still in love with, which usually I get frustrated dying over and over again, but because Celeste is so special and it plays so well and most of the mistakes were mine to own, I couldn't be that mad at it for too long and I just kept going. Plus there's accessibility options if I really got that frustrated. Players take control of Madeline, who is very hard-headed but also deals with anxiety disorder, which is something that I can really relate to as it's a disorder that I also suffer from, but she has other issues going on as well, and she's trying to discover her own identity in life. It's a story that hit home with a lot of people. Gosh, is this game relatable? I'm getting a little emotional just thinking about it. As you climb this mountain, you're just climbing and climbing. It really kind of goes back to life, where you just face a challenge and then you gotta climb up higher and get past that one, but another one, even more difficult sometimes, will stand in your way. But that's the journey of self-discovery, and that's such an important message that Celeste does a great job of teaching us all, that you just gotta keep going, you gotta never give up. Our disorders or our weaknesses can hold us back, but they don't necessarily define us. You will face challenges in life, you will make mistakes, and it's really up to you to learn from those mistakes and get stronger. That's what I take away from Celeste. Even though it kicked my ass multiple times and it was a tough lesson to learn, this is one of the great indie games ever. Celeste is not only a great game to play, It's an important game. And hey, by the way, you're very important to us, and we're so glad to get through another list with you. We hope you enjoyed it very much, and perhaps you've discovered a classic indie that maybe you missed out on, or at least you enjoyed sharing in the experience of it once again. Thank you as always for watching and supporting independent content here at I Dream of Indie Games. Remember, patreon.com/idreamofindiegames if you would like to help our mission and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. We have some wonderful perks over there. Twitch.tv/idreamofindiegames if you want to help Nia over there. She streams every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. There's tons of ways to support this channel down in the description box, but of course it's also just as simple as hitting the subscribe button, hitting the bell notification so you get notified when we create a new video. We're always having a lot of fun out there, folks, and we love communicating with you as well. So thank you for helping us bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming, and we will have Volume 3 for you, hopefully in the very near future. Take care, and I will see you on the channel for more great indie gaming content.